you ask kids in South Lake what they want to be when they grow up, they don't say they want to be an astronaut or a firefighter. They would say they want to play for the South Lake Carroll Dragons. Everyone's going to the games. Everyone's enjoying the moments and just watching high school football. I mean, that's where it starts, and then it works its way up to college football.
Field Talk Podcast is brought to you by Roback. RHOBACK is the name of the brand. Head on over to roback.com and check out all of the incredible gear. This time of the year, I kind of live in one of these Roback hoodies every single day, but also, at least where I live, it's cold right now. And so the outerwear is a must. Check out all of the new products that they have, plus some of the great staples. You've got the hoodies, you've got the polos, you got the tees, you got the long sleeve tees, the joggers, the shorts, the hats. I could go on and on, but you get the point. Roback.com and enter promo code FIELD, FIELD, my name, to get 20% off your first order. Quinn Ewers' college career isn't even over, and yet it feels like football fans have known about him for such a long time. Quinn was once the number one recruit in all of high school football, and a name that started to make the rounds and recruiting buzz as early as the 7th grade. It's been a journey for Quinn Ewers that has traveled from Texas to Columbus and now back to Texas, where he is the starting quarterback for the University of Texas football team. To learn more about this journey and everything that goes into being maybe the face of one of the best football programs in all of college football, here is Quinn Ewers, today's guest on the Field Talk Podcast. It's great to be joined by Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers. And Quinn, it's an exciting time for football right now, especially in college football and the dawn of the 12-team playoff for the first time ever. But as you think back and you reflect on your football journey, could you have imagined growing up in the state of Texas, playing for Texas in a game that is the first of its kind in college football history?
Yeah, man. Like you said, grew up wanting to play here. So I'm just beyond grateful for the opportunity to play here, and it's cool. I mean, a year ago, if we would have lost that SEC championship, we're done playing football until the bowl game. So the new dynamic is definitely a really cool add. So I mean, we're still in it. We still got a shot to go do what we've wanted to do this whole season, and we couldn't be more fired up for the opportunity.
You are in year 3 at Texas. Obviously spent your first year of college at Ohio State. We're going to go through your journey here, but as a Texas kid, let's sort of look back. At what point did you, and I'm sure every kid who grows up in Texas playing football probably says to himself, one day I want to go play for the Longhorns and be the quarterback for the Longhorns. At what point in your life, because the world of football has known about you for a long time, a lot longer than you've been playing college football, at what point did you think to yourself, maybe I am good enough to one day play at a very high level?
Yeah, man. It's hard to go back and think of a specific moment, but probably realistically, probably around my sophomore year of high school. I mean, I always knew that I was pretty good at football growing up, and but as a kid, you're just doing it because it's fun. You're not doing it to get the results that we want out of it now. But offers started coming in, and that's probably the moment when things started to click. I mean, I got an offer as early as I was in middle school. I think I was going into 8th grade or seventh or 8th grade, and I mean, from then on out, I knew I wanted to play football, but it's just been a wild ride for sure.
So most 7th or 8th graders are thinking about like what video game they're going to play after school when they get back off the bus, and you're getting an offer. Okay. All right. So what's going through your mind though, beyond what video game you're going to play, is like you get an offer from a school. Do you recall which school it was? And what's the feeling going through your brain when you think about the idea that like you might have picked your path for the future before you've even started high school?
Yeah, it was insane. I remember it was North Texas. I mean, that's up by where I'm from. And I just went to a camp with like a buddy. It's like a high school camp or something like that. And after the camp was over, I think the coach came over to me, who was actually Seth Luttrell. And actually Coach Choice was on staff too, who's now our running backs coach. So it's all coming full circle, which is pretty cool. But yeah, they were like, "Do you have a Twitter? Like, we want to follow you on Twitter." I was like, "I don't even have a phone. I don't have a phone to like reach you guys or anything." But no, it was a crazy experience. I mean, I think me and my dad was with me. We were pretty shell shocked. We didn't really know what to do if it were like, is this even a real like offer? Like, what's going on? Blah blah blah. But um, it was a pretty cool day for me for sure. Because like you said, I was like, okay, so I can really do this.
Man, at seventh grade, like I don't even know what I was doing in seventh grade at that point in my life. I'm not even sure if I could I played hockey growing up. I'm not sure if I was tying my own skates by the age of 12 or 13, and you're getting Division I scholarship offers. Just a little bit of a different athletic path for the two of
Wow.
us. But obviously, you don't end up going to North Texas. You continue your playing career, but then you're at the high school level. You're the guy, right? I mean, you are as 5 star as 5 star can be. What is that process like for you? Because I can imagine that one letter turned into, or one offer turned into probably an offer from every school in the country. What is it like going through something that I can imagine is overwhelming for someone of any age, but doing so probably starting at, even further at like 14 and 15 years old?
Yeah, man, it was a cool experience for sure. Going through high school and not really having to worry about you know having to pay for college and all that, not putting that burden on my parents or whatever it was. Or um, I get to have a free education at one of the best institutions, and I mean, it was cool. It was cool to play the game that I love, knowing that I get to continue to play it and not have to worry about, is this going to be my last year playing football.
So obviously you go through the recruiting process and it's very, very much publicized. Everybody who follows college football recruiting, like me, not only knows the names, but follows all the services. And we're trying to figure out whose class ranks highest and how many offers Quinn has and which visits he's taken and what level of interest he has. But your final decision as you begin your college career is to go to Ohio State. It's one of the most talked about recruitments in a long time. You are in some ways one of the faces of this era of college football we are in, as one of the first athletes to be prominently involved in the name, image, and likeness era. As you reflect upon this, and your football journey is about a whole lot more than NIL, but what has it been like to be involved in something that we think could really change the landscape of college football as we know it?
Yeah, man, it's a blessing. I'm super glad that I'm able to profit off of NIL and all that good stuff, and also just the relationships that I've been able to build through all that, and just what I've learned. And I think it's good. I think it's good for everybody. We get to learn about managing money and putting money in certain places that'll help it grow, or and then obviously you get to have a little fun as well. So, I mean, I'm just super glad and fortunate to be able to benefit off of NIL, and I know all my teammates and all the guys around the country can agree to that.
So you go to Ohio State for a year before you wind up back in Texas. Just as you think back on a year in Columbus, what are some of the lessons that you learned that you think maybe positively impacted your development as a player and your now 3 years at Texas?
Yeah, man, I definitely learned a lot. It was tough for me because I came in right in the middle of fall camp because it was kind of a late decision for me. But I wouldn't change anything about that decision that I made about leaving school early. Obviously, it was tough in the moment being at Ohio State and obviously not playing, and then seeing all the boys back home, finishing up their senior year of high school and getting to play every Friday night, and then obviously the playoffs roll around. I mean, it definitely hurt a little bit just to see those guys enjoying it and having fun. And I'm not playing football at the time, and um, that was really the first moment in time I'd ever been, I guess, a backup. But there was a pretty good guy in front of me, or a couple guys in front of me, and CJ was there, and I learned a lot from Coach Day. And you just the difference in college football and high school football and the way that you need to prepare to play at a high level is what I learned the most for sure.
All right, so we make our way back to Texas. And again, as a kid growing up in Texas, I don't know the exact percentage of kids in the state that say they one day want to be the Longhorns quarterback, but I got to imagine it's a pretty high percentage. What's it like? You take the field for the very first time as a University of Texas quarterback. Think back to 2 seasons ago, your sophomore year in college, or your redshirt freshman year in college. What's that feel like for you? What is that moment like when you're walking on the field or breaking the huddle for the very first time in front of the crowd that you grew up probably thinking about for much of your high school and middle school playing career?
Yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable. It was I can't really describe the feeling, but it's one of the best feelings in the world running out of that tunnel. And the feeling doesn't really go away or change, which is really cool. I mean, obviously you get more experience and you're more calm when the game starts, but that feeling running out of the tunnel is it's hard to beat. And I was just beyond grateful for the opportunity that Coach Sark gave me to choose me as his quarterback and kind of just give me the keys to the offense. And um, it's there's no worldly words that can describe just how good of a feeling it was to step out there on that field.
All right, so I want to ask you about Coach Sark. Obviously, one of the best football minds, regardless of college, professional, high school, you name it. And obviously, there's a lot of allure to go play at Texas. But I'm imagining part of the process is also playing for a coach that you feel comfortable for. What were your initial interactions like with Coach Sark that maybe drew you back to Austin?
Yeah, he recruited me at Alabama too, so I got to know him a little bit whenever he was at Alabama. And we always had good conversations in the recruitment process. And then, when I entered the portal, we immediately connected, and it's just been a great relationship. Super excited to see where it goes, and super grateful to have get to know him for sure.
So when you enter the portal again, do you end up, or when you enter the portal, did you end up hearing from a lot of the same schools that had recruited you the first time around? Was it more, fewer? Was it schools you had never heard of coming out of high school? What was that process like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty easy process, honestly. I didn't talk to a whole lot of people. I knew I wanted to come back home for sure and stay in the state of Texas. And I think realistically, we talked to like two schools, and it was really between two schools. I just knew I wanted to be back home in Texas.
For those, and somebody who grew up in New England, I've lived here the most of my life. Have not been to a college game in the state of Texas, whether it's at UT or something or somewhere else. How's it different? Like you've now experienced other parts of the country. How is it different than maybe other places that you have played as a visitor at the collegiate level?
Yeah, I think it starts in high school. I mean, just Texas high school football, the whole town shows up. I mean, everything's shut down. I remember, I think it was 2011 or 2012. I was a little kid, and I mean, in Southlake for sure. You ask kids in Southlake what they want to be when they grow up. They don't say they want to be an astronaut or a firefighter. They would say they want to play for the Southlake Carroll Dragons. And I think it just starts early at an early age. I remember um, the high school team was going to play the state championship at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. I mean, there were signs everywhere. I mean, that were saying, "Last one to leave, turn out the lights." I mean, everyone's going to the games. Everyone's enjoying the moments and just watching high school football. I mean, that's where it starts, and then it works its way up to college football.
I believe your high school stadium held 12,000 people. Is that correct?
Yeah, something like that for sure. It's definitely
What
on the bigger side of things.
what's that like? I mean, 12,000 people for a high school football game. That's got to be an incredible moment each Friday night.
Dude, it's my best memories I have. It's the best. I mean, thinking about you're 15 to 17 years old. I mean, those are the best memories that I'll carry on forever. Those playing besides my best friends, my best buddies, in front of like you said, 10, 12,000 people. Friday is what we lived for. It was
Yeah,
the best.
you might have played in some nicer high school stadiums than collegiate. I'm not going to make you name them, but there might be a couple of college stadiums that you have traveled to that maybe not quite at the same level as some of those high school facilities down there in Texas. Not to get too specific to Clemson, but as you reflect on the college football playoff last year and making it and having an historic performance in the conference championship game. What are maybe some lessons that you learned from last year that you've applied towards this season that have helped propel you guys to the success that you have had?
I mean, it's hard. It's hard to play against experience, and I think that we really have a whole lot of experience in big games. And it's cool. Coach Stark says all the time, like, this is where we're supposed to be. We're meant to be here. We earned the spot to be here. And it's just been cool to see how we've matured as a team throughout the season. I mean, we had a little hiccup in the middle of the season, and then we finished out the season strong. I mean, we had a good back into the season with some rivalry games coming back, and I mean, no team in the SEC is an easy game. So I'm just excited to see how we overcome this adversity. We do a good job. We do a really good job of overcoming adversity. I mean, Coach Stark does a good job of telling us to be enamored with us. And there's a good stat, or there's a good saying that he always says, and it's 10% of what happens to you. It's 90% how you react to that. So I mean, I think we really do a good job of carrying on that within our culture.
Not that the Big 12 didn't have great atmospheres. And of course, some of those schools that were in the Big 12 with you are now in the SEC with you. But what was it like in this first year in the SEC? Were the atmospheres about what you expected? Was there any that maybe caught your attention that you didn't realize was going to be quite what it was once you actually played a game inside that stadium?
Man, it was awesome. I always wanted to play in the SEC. I just feel like the environment is just more people are really fired up for the environment, and they live, eat, and breathe football in the deep South. I mean, it's like football, family, and faith down there. So I mean, it was really cool to get to go to some of those stadiums and experience all those environments in the SEC for sure.
Is there any game or environment that you remember most from this past season that just for one reason or another will always stick with you?
I think A&M. I mean, just having that game back and getting to experience that one. Um, it was definitely a cool moment for sure, especially coming out on top. That just makes it 10 times better.
Yeah, that certainly was one of. It was great to see that game being played, and the stakes first time in such a long time, with so much on the line there. One thing that did not go away because of the realignment and moving to the SEC is the Red River rivalry against, of course, Oklahoma. What is that game like? Because as a fan and an observer from a million miles away, it's always struck me as one that feels like, at least going into it, you put the records aside and it's just two teams that are always going to bring out the best in each other. You guys handle business. You guys have handled business in these atmospheres. But what is that growing up and then also in your collegiate playing career? What has that specific rivalry meant to you?
Man, that's a fun one. I mean, just how we meet in the middle and the stadium is split in half. I mean, it's like half the game it feels like a home game, and then once you cross that 50, it's like an away game. I mean, everyone's fired up. Everyone's been drinking who knows what. I mean, they're just all amped up and fired up, and um, there's not a lot of love there, and I wouldn't want it any other way.
Was this year maybe a little bit different and more special? Obviously, you missed a couple games due to an injury early on in the season. The fact that it's your return game, and maybe your last time playing against them during your college career, did it feel a little bit different this season as compared to maybe how it had felt to you in prior years?
Yeah, it felt a little different for sure. I think that again that just comes with experience. I mean, that was my third one, experiencing it, and I think we didn't start as hot as we wanted to, but as the game went on, we just settled in, and then I mean, our defense just handles business. So, um, but again, it was just an unbelievable atmosphere. The time was changed though. Usually it was a 11 a.m. kickoff. I think it was like a 2:30 kickoff, which was a little different. But I mean, overall, it was still a cool experience for sure.
I remember that because I believe that allowed Herbie, Kirk Herbstreit, to make it from Eugene to the game in Dallas, and he had to leave college game a little bit early. But I will never forget like that travel moment there. You probably were too locked in on the game prep yourself, but it was good TV at the very least to see him find a way to get halfway across the country for that one.
That's wild. I didn't
The
even know that.
Yeah, he had to leave. I think like the first time in show history, he left 45 minutes early or something. They took a camera shot of him in a car to the airport. It was quite a scene there. But this is uh, a question that I'm sure I could ask any number of Texas quarterbacks. But the Texas quarterback, that's a position that's been held by some very, very successful players. You've had greats, guys who have won the Heisman Trophy, like Vince Young, and guys who have been Texas legends and will always be Texas legends. What is it like to be the quarterback of the University of Texas? And I'm not just talking about on game day and in the huddle, also walking around campus. Like, is it something that do you feel like you always have someone following you around wanting to get a little taste of the life of Quinn Ewers?
Yeah, I mean, growing up here, I always wanted to play here. and I always was a big fan of the Horns. So for me, it's a dream come true. And it's been a great 3 years here. And I mean, yeah, like you said, it's fun, but at the same time, it's like try to get as many online classes as possible, just to kind of stay out of all that stuff. And um, I like being home. I like being at home. So I don't really experience a whole lot of that stuff, but um, I try to stay away from all that. Personally, I just don't. I don't really enjoy all that. I mean, I'm a human being just like everyone else is. I put my pants on the same everybody else does.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine though that if you are walking around campus, you might need like security to get you from one place to the next. With a lot of people that probably want a little bit of your attention. University of Texas also has some very notable fans and alumni, including Matthew McConaughey. What's it like to have spent some time with him?
Man, he's awesome. I mean, he's always got a new story to tell. And I mean, we've kind of built a good relationship over this past year, and we did a commercial together, which was cool to do. And I mean, he's an awesome dude. He's a big Longhorn fan, so it's always cool to have him around.
Did he like ask you for some throwing tips? Like, could you say, I'll trade you, some passing advice in exchange for some acting advice?
Nah, he hadn't asked me. He probably didn't even need all that. He's got it figured out with what he's doing right now. But I asked him. I was like, man, I need some help with this acting stuff.
Yeah, but did that make you more nervous being around one of the most famous and successful actors? Like, did you wish it was just like, somebody that they cast off the street instead who maybe was a professional actor, but wasn't Matthew McConaughey to do a commercial with?
Yeah, honestly, no. Just because I know him a little bit, so and I kind of get the feed off of his energy. So
Yeah.
yeah,
If you guys interact during the college football season, like, is he sending you notes like, listen, man, we take care of business against that A&M pass rush and we'll be okay? Or what kind of like, how dedicated are we talking? Is his football knowledge? He seems like he knows what he's talking about.
yeah. I mean, he definitely knows what he's talking about. I mean, he's more of like an encourager, though. He's just like all about the horns. He always says, "Leave no doubt." That's my favorite thing he's ever said. He's just leave no doubt.
Leave no doubt. He does love that. I remember my sister had one growing up. Just keep living was a line that he used to live by as well, which I'm sure he
Yeah.
still does. She loved that picture. It was like words of motivation and a handsome face to get her going every single day. So Matthew McConaughey amongst the very, very cool people to be a part of the Texas family. Atmosphere wise, as you think ahead to the college football playoff, like, is there anything that you anticipate might be different? I'm not talking about Clemson specifically or the schematics or whatever, but how it might feel different than a game that you have played in either during the regular season or even last year's college football playoff. You're playing at home. You are playing in Austin as opposed to on a neutral site. What might that be like for you?
It's definitely going to be different for sure. I mean, obviously, there's more at stakes, more at stake. I mean, we have our entire season on the line. We're human beings. We understand that at the end of the day, but um, we just need to be present every single day and focus on going 1-0. As easy of an answer that sounds like I'm telling you guys, it's as simple as that. Just remain where your feet are, and Saturday will come soon enough.
Yeah, it sure will. It's coming up fast. And as you think back to Selection Sunday, obviously you guys had a pretty good idea that you were entering the college football playoff, but did you allow yourself to play the game of wondering what seed are we going to be? Who could we face off? Or what's going through your brain as you're awaiting the bracket reveal a couple of Sundays ago?
Yeah, I mean, I was just most curious on who we were going to be playing. It's funny. I get to play against somebody I played with in high school, and he's number 9. He's RJ Mickens, the safety for them. So he's a good buddy of mine. So it's gonna be fun to get to play him.
Do we talk it all before the game, or is this like, hey, we are cold blooded enemies until the game is over?
Nah, he called me. He called me right after it got out, or right after the bracket came out, and I mean he's a good buddy of mine. He was one of my good buddies at Southlake, and it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool.
So as you reflect, and it's not over. We hope that it's far from over now, your Texas football journey. But as you reflect on, what's been 3 tremendous seasons, are there any moments that maybe we wouldn't think of? I'm not talking about a game in which you guys dominate against a rival opponent, but maybe a moment that you reflect on and you say, that'll always stick with me for a specific reason that those of us on the outside may not necessarily think of or remember.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me and that I will take away from my 3 years here is just where we came from. I mean, there's guys on this team right now who are a part of the 5-7 team that are now competing for a national championship as the number 5 seed in the playoffs. I mean, from where they started to where they're at now, and just to hear their stories and to hear, kind of just what they've been through, um, is wild to me. Going through a coaching change, like Jake Majors went through that coaching change, and then to get to where he is now it's been pretty cool to watch.
As you think about, and I'm sure growing up, this is something that you heard about because we've seen, the Longhorns on the very top of the college football world with Vince Young out dueling USC for the national title in a game that I'll never forget. And then, sort of building the program back up. What does it mean to you to have been a part of a very successful run right now? I mean, back-to-back seasons in the college football playoff. Like, what has this meant to you, thinking about not just who you are now as University of Texas quarterback, but a kid who grew up watching and following and loving this program and wanting to see us succeed at the highest level every single year?
Yeah, man, it's special. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's just super special and grateful to be a part of a team like this and the culture like this. I mean, it's easier to play whenever you're playing for somebody that you really enjoy and that you love. And we just built such a strong brotherhood. And like I said, we play for more than us, which allows us to play beyond us.
Well, Quinn Ewers in Texas, you guys have a huge, huge playoff tilt against Clemson coming up. We hope it's the first of many playoff games that you are participating in the rest of this way. We so appreciate you joining us here on the Field Talk podcast. Good luck, and we'll talk to you again sometime down the line.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, if you ever wonder what it's like to be the University of Texas quarterback, now you have a better feel for it. Quinn Ewers has been under the microscope for a long, long time, nearly a decade now. I'm trying to think about what I was doing when I was 12 years old. I'm not even sure I could write my own name, much less receive an offer to play Division I football from a school like North Texas. But truly appreciate Quinn for making some time here on the Field Talk podcast. And a reminder, Field Talk podcast is presented by Roback. RHOBACK.com. Enter my name Field for 20% off your first order. And also, if you're so inclined, you can find the Field Talk podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Rating, reviews, those certainly help. And if you're watching us right now on YouTube, you're just one click away from subscribing to the channel to make sure that you never miss out on any of the latest content. Until next time, I'll talk to you again soon.